Our Heating and Air Conditioning Weather Center. Our morning meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Today, times of clouds and sun, the high 52. It'll be cloudy tonight, low 34. Clouds and breezy, some rain tomorrow afternoon, the high 46. Winds will be strong on Wednesday. It'll be cloudy, the high Wednesday 45. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
37 at O'Hare, 40 along the lakefront. Your next news update is at 8:30, and Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Check out the pre-Black Friday event this weekend at Shoot Point Blank. Take advantage of early doorbuster savings on firearms, ammo, and more. Plus, all Smith & Wesson firearms will be on sale during this event. Visit your Shoot Point Blank store for details.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Maestro, drum roll, please.
Uh-oh.
The 2019 word or phrase of the year from Oxford Dictionaries is climate emergency.
Hey!
Yeah. If you guessed climate crisis or climate action, good guesses. Those were also on the short list because that's how much this apocalyptic lexicon has dominated the dialogue in 2019. Climate crisis, climate action, not scary enough. Climate emergency, the fierce urgency of now. That's the phrase of the year. And you can understand why, because you have scholars.
Oh, scholars. From Harvard.
Actually, activists masking as scholars, treated as scholars by the D.C. Press Corps, like Roger Hallam, who is the founder of an activist group called Extinction Rebellion, which was the name of my high school band.
Oh, hey, there you go.
You know, yeah.
What was the cover band for?
Billy Squier.
Oh.
Yeah. Roger Hallam, in an interview with a German media outlet, he compared the climate emergency, used a popular phrase, to the Holocaust. The fact is that in our history, millions of people have been regularly killed under dire circumstances. To be honest, you could say this is almost a normal event. He warns against Hallam in his book, slow and agonizing suffering and the death of billions of people from global warming, saying that the human devastation will be 12 times worse than the horror of Nazism and fascism in the 20th century.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you have that. And then on a more parochial level, you have, the old annual Harvard and Yale football game interrupted by 150 students from Harvard and Yale.
Yeah, they delayed the game about an hour.
Yeah. Because Harvard and Yale, there's no winners in that football game. Well, it's Ivy League football, so participation trophies, of course. But in addition to that, no winners because Harvard and Yale are both complicit in climate injustice. So who is winning the climate wars? That's a question that our next guest, Francis Menton, asked and answered at his site there, Manhattan Contrarian. And I want to talk to him about that. Francis Menton, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, climate emergency is Oxford's word of the year. You have increasingly hysterical predictions about end times and just when they're going to occur and how devastating they'll be, how quickly. And worst of all, of course, you have the Yale-Harvard football game being interrupted.
Should I mention that I was at the Yale-Harvard football game?
Really?
You were there?
Oh, no.
Were you on the field?
Yeah.
Where were you at the game?
I was not on the field, but there were, in addition to the demonstrators on the field during a delay of about an hour, there were young people walking around the crowd handing out flyers about the climate emergency and insisting that Yale and Harvard both should divest from fossil fuels. I, of course, took the opportunity to confront these people and ask
good.
them, do you think Africans are allowed to have electricity or no? What's your view on that? They didn't have an answer.
So is the problem the conservatives that run Yale and Harvard? Is that the problem?
Conservatives run Yale and Harvard?
Yeah,
Right?
is that the problem? 'Cause I don't know who they're protesting.
That's an excellent question, although I don't believe either of their endowments has been divested from fossil fuel companies, nor should they. It would be ridiculous. Not that would have any effect on how much fossil fuel is produced or used in the world.
Did you ask them if they really want to go zero carbon emissions? Then you hate to inform them, but we're going to have to remove you not just from Harvard or Yale, but from the planet.
Yeah, and maybe stop breathing.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
what was the reaction of the crowd, though? Because I didn't really see crowd reaction when they stopped the game.
There was a student section of the crowd that may have been different, but I was in the adult section of the crowd, which was basically okay with it for 5 minutes and annoyed and irritated increasingly after that, and it went on for about an hour. So
I'm just happy to hear there's an adult section at Yale Stadium. I'm surprised to hear that.
Well, maybe we call it the old people section.
Yeah. Well,
I would like to point out one more thing before we move on.
Yes.
Yale won the game.
Yes.
If you went to Yale like I did, that's of some significance.
Congratulations.
yes, congratulations on your overtime victory.
In double overtime.
Yeah. So I was gonna say you're not just a passive fan of Ivy League football. I assumed you had some skin in that battle.
Exactly.
And
I attended Yale as an undergraduate many years ago.
well,
when it was not quite as crazy as today.
Yeah, well, as I want to say about Yale, Buckley wrote God and Man at Yale. Now neither God nor man is welcome at Yale.
Well, they still allow crazy students.
And so
God not so much. They have a new religion. The new religion is climate. That far and away, that's the new religion.
Well, yeah, well, it certainly seems to be. And it's interesting because sort of concurrent to this event on Saturday, last week, Yale announcing that they're put together a committee to try to develop a more tolerant campus environment for dissenters. But as one English professor at Yale pointed out, the problem is they've eliminated all the dissenters with respect to their hiring or their admissions policies. So there's nobody left to dissent.
Well, as an old Yaley, I do know a few things about this. And there is something called the William F. Buckley Program at Yale, which is a conservative organization that makes its business to keep conservative thought alive there. And they have a not small enrollment of students, like 300, which is not 10% of the student body, but it's not nobody. It's quite a lot of people. There is conservative thought on that campus. It's an oppressed minority, but it's there.
And with respect to the larger issue of the discussion about climate, about the climate and the politics that surround it, Michael Bloomberg gets in the race yesterday, and featured prominently in his introductory video is that he is going to combat climate change with every fiber in his being, just as Tom Steyer and everybody else is.
Well, good luck with that, because my friends in China are in the process of building hundreds upon hundreds of new coal plants, and anything the United States can do to marginally reduce carbon dioxide emissions by 5 or 10% over the next 10 or 20 years. And I don't even believe that's going to happen. But if it did, the increased emissions from China and from China's client states in places like Africa and South Asia will be a multiple of any reduction the United States can achieve, maybe 5 to 10 times. So it's all a joke. It's all a big virtue signal that will have no effect whatsoever. But the good news is that the climate is not an emergency, and you'll never notice the temperature increase, if any.
I wanted to get your reaction to another Yale alum, Hunter Biden. He went to Yale Law School. Congratulations.
He did. I did
Yes,
not know
congratulations to him.
Yes.
that. I hope he donates money to
Well,
your school.
Yeah, well,
He's got a lot of cash.
He said he's launched a very successful business and legal career recently, in particular. You wrote at again your site, Manhattan Contrarian, about this other perhaps word of 2020, bribery, and who really is perhaps most fitting of that description, having participated in bribery. Is it President Trump or is it Vice President Biden?
Yes, I would be glad to comment on that. The bribery seems to be the new word of the day with from Adam Schiff as to what he claims Trump did. But a bribery allegation against Trump is extremely iffy because he didn't get anything other than a potential intangible political advantage in a coming race against a candidate I don't think is going anywhere anyway, namely Joe Biden. That's a pretty iffy bribery case. Meanwhile, Hunter Biden got $3 million, or maybe it's $5. We don't have the total yet. It's at least 3. And Joe Biden has flat out admitted on a video that everybody has seen that he got the prosecutor who was prosecuting his son's company fired. It's a laydown bribery case, as far as I could see. I think their position is completely indefensible. I'm surprised that anybody even tries to keep defending it.
And by the way, it should be noted that you were a practicing attorney, right?
I still am a practicing
Okay,
attorney,
still
but
are.
I was I'm still a practicing attorney in a small-time way as a semi-retired guy, but I was a high-end practicing litigator, however, not in the criminal field.
But I mean, the case that Adam Schiff has presented over the last couple of weeks, in particular in public, that he describes as including overwhelming evidence that basically the dispute is over, the debate has since ceased, that there's overwhelming evidence the president committed some illicit act, and they are using the terms bribery or extortion. Are you compelled by Adam Schiff's evidence in advance of that?
I don't even get it. I mean, I said there's a laydown case of bribery against the Bidens. Absolutely, they should be investigated. I think we all owe Trump a debt of gratitude for asking they be investigated. If he had, in fact, withheld aid to Ukraine to coerce an investigation, I would applaud him, but I don't think he did. But still, I would applaud him. The Bidens need to be investigated because the final evidence to prove the case of bribery against the Bidens is in Ukraine, so they need to provide it to us, and it needs to be asked for, and Trump or Barr are likely people, appropriate people to ask for it.
He is Francis Menton. He's the Manhattan Contrarian. Check out his columns on climate wars as well as the impeachment proceedings at Manhattan Contrarian. Francis Menton, thanks so much for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, this is Dan Frio with the Mortgage Update. Daily you hear guys on the radio going back and forth about how they're better than the other guy, and then you hear how their team can help you buy or refinance a home. But answer this, are they a direct lender who has the ability to approve, underwrite, and close your loan? I am. Are they a middleman who's at the mercy of another company? I'm not. When you call, do you speak with the person who's telling you how great they are? Or are you talking to a salesperson? Not me. You work with me personally. And last, I put my money where my mouth is. I offer an exclusive rate match program for those times when I